Well, that sucked. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about it. The Yankees lost 7-0 today, and the ticker, of course, is messed up. But we'll figure it out. The Yankees lost 7-0 to the A's today. Like a team that doesn't even have a location right now. They're just the A's. They're just the Athletics. They're whatever you want to put them in there.
We didn't even show up today, actually.
I mean, the only one that showed up was Clark Schmidt, and he ended up giving up 4 runs. So there you go. It was not a good day at the office. Right now, it's frustrating because on one hand, you can look at that and be like, well, they won yesterday. But when you look at the opponent, there's no excuse. See, the Yankees, they got off to such a blistering hot start where they were ripping off all of these series wins, and now they're not winning series against the A's. They're not winning tomorrow. Marcus Stroman.
So you don't have high hopes for that start tomorrow?
Marcus Stroman's on the mound tomorrow. He's got an 11 ERA for a reason. He couldn't get through an inning. I don't care. Say the injury, say it not. He didn't look good before the injury, so I don't care. Right now, Gary, and welcome in, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
It's a funeral service.
We're getting closer to the bags, man. We're getting closer to the bag over.
Oh, by the way, some bad news. Tampa, and for those of you who love to look at the box scores around the league, Tampa's currently beating the brakes off of Baltimore. And Baltimore is a bad team this year. They are. You wouldn't have known that by the way that we played them. But they're not a good baseball team. By the end of today, your New York Yankees will be half a game up in first place. And I guess it leads us to the main topic. And we're eventually going to get to the whole Ian Hamilton staring down Jacob Wilson. It made no sense. No one understood it. We're going to talk about Aaron Judge just running into the last out of the game for those of you who kept the game on and tortured yourselves. But we want to start off with Aaron Boone because I think our prompt is whether or not he's losing this clubhouse. And Jake, I'll answer this shortly and then I'll throw it to you. Mm-hmm. I can't say anyone's losing the clubhouse just for the simple fact of I think he's leading the temperament of this clubhouse. If you're the type of group that doesn't see the importance of a late June game, you don't see the importance of staying ready, being mentally prepared regardless of who you're playing, I don't think you can lose a group unless they want to do something differently than the way that you want to do it as a manager. And I think Aaron Boone, you listen to him post-game, you just think that, I mean, he sort of talked about it like it was willy-nilly. It was no problem. It was just, well, we're not really working starting pitching as much as we did, right? He had 2 or 3 reasons, and he did speak. It wasn't just nonsense, I guess, but it doesn't feel that important. And so it makes me wonder, if he doesn't see it as important, why should these players make smart decisions out on the field, right? You saw Winans give up a hit. No one was throwing the ball home at all. And he's just running to the plate, right? Just not thinking about anything. The play's clearly at third base, right? Cody Bellinger throws the ball to third. The ball gets squirted away, and it's another run. Now, mind you, it made it from 6-0 to 7-0, no big deal. But it just sort of goes to show you this baseball team, they don't think this is very important. They just don't. You can clearly tell that based on our management and the way that our leadership is, they just assume we're going to turn it around at some point. So why freak out about this? I think that's what we're looking at.
I think it goes back to what you were saying about Aaron Judge and how, Judge was like, well, maybe we have to do that. Maybe we have to turn this around. Maybe we have to change that, And I think this is, hate to say it, but this technically could go through Boone. This could be, his kind of mantra is that it's not just the players. It's not just being in the MLB. Boone is just kind of rubbing off on them like, today, it sucked. Move on. Tomorrow's another day. But the problem is it's not another day. As a matter of fact, we talk about how yesterday's game always affects the next game. Always. We always talk about this. We talk about the bullpen. We talk about who's in the lineup. Right? We talk about confidence. We talk about momentum. That stuff is real. Because if you don't think momentum.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. No, not with this organization. I've never seen it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's also probably what happens when you think everything's a crapshoot, right? Is that how it was worded? It was a
actually, before we went live, I was going to ask you the question. I was curious what you thought. Mm-hmm. I was like, I wonder if I actually had to ask our audience, right? anyone in our audience who listens to us and on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, anywhere, Twitter, what would you do if your sole mission was to make a baseball player that was playing well in the short term? What would you do to him to make it stop? Be creative. What would you think about? And I was thinking about it. I think I'd do two things. I would either move him in the order, right? Make him think a little bit, or I would sit him. Those two things. I would probably do those two. And I'm looking at our players, and obviously Aaron Boone's the one. He tells us he makes all these decisions. He's the leader. He wants us to believe that, and I'll trust him in that. Okay. Well, why is it that players who can play well, and at the beginning of this year, Paul Goldschmidt was doing that, and all of a sudden you make the decision, oh, this other guy's playing well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Paul Goldschmidt off the field. I'm going to sit him 2 days in a row after having played well. And then he's going to show back up after having sat 2 days in a row, and he's going to have a bad day at the yard that first day back. He hasn't played in 3 days. And then next thing you know, we're having conversation if he hasn't seen his last hit in a week. You manufactured that. You created that. Now, mind you, the Yankees very clearly, I know I wanted to key on that word, momentum. The Yankees don't believe in momentum. They don't think it exists. As you mentioned, Jake, this is a crapshoot. We are going to throw players in the lineup as a standalone event. There's no lead up to this. We're not worried about yesterday. It had no effect on today. We're going to play today. And then tomorrow, if you watched our results, today, you won't know what have happened today. You'll have no clue. You will have assumed by looking at the lineup tomorrow that 9 played really well yesterday. You'd be wrong. The Yankees have no rhyme or reason for what they do. It doesn't seem important. And we show up post-game listening to these interviews, hoping, right, that they're going to give us some sense of importance. They're going to make it seem like it's more important than the way they're playing. And I promise you, it doesn't matter what they tell you. Just believe the way they play. If they took this as if it was important, these players who are very talented, these are not all rookie players. Paul Goldschmidt, veteran. Aaron Judge, veteran, right? Austin Wells has now been around the block at this point with our organization. If you watch the entirety of today's baseball game, there was no urgency whatsoever to play smart baseball. It was a dumb baseball game. Bad. It really was. And I didn't think Clark Schmidt was bad at all. At all. And yet you look up, and it was no contest. This wasn't even a close baseball game. Even when the score indicated otherwise, you just knew this baseball club isn't even close to turning it on today. And that's what was so disappointing.
Yeah, definitely. And, JP Sears came into this game. I mean, let's put it this way. This is how I like wording this. Doesn't matter what he came the game as. He went 5 2/3 and didn't give up a run, and his ERA is still 5.09. So that's not good. They had him looking like your favorite, Sandy Koufax. They could not. They got 3 hits today. 3 for
and
28.
JP Sears is a good arm. Like we've seen what that looks like. Is he that? No.
Absolutely. And he's had
There's
a
reason
bad
Boone
year.
said we didn't work it. I mean, he is.
Yeah. But yeah, 3 for 28 today. The frustrating thing is that, like, while I want to say, like, oh, they quit and they just, you still see the hard contact. You still see Judge just miss a home run, just got under it. Like, sometimes those things happen, but Gary, there's no such thing as bad luck for an entire 9 innings. There's just no such thing. So they had their moments where they could have gotten something going, and they just didn't. And they had 28 shots at it, and they only got on base, 8 times?
Well, Paul Goldschmidt was 1 for 4, right? He broke the 0 for 20. I'm happy for him, genuinely. He was 1 for 4. Cody Bellinger, he received a horrible call in his first at-bat of the day. Decided to make an adjustment and spray a ball the other way. It was a nice piece of hitting. Want to make sure we give him credit. Not everything was bad today. That at-bat was one of the good things. And DJ LeMahieu, hard contact, but it didn't leave the infield single. That's all you missed today. The Yankees did nothing else. 0-4 the rest of the roster. So I hate to break it to you guys. This Yankees offense, which has scored actually a lot of runs this year, they are laying down at this moment of the season. And this is a trend. So people can come up with all types of reasons as to why that's happening. Obviously, the temperament in the Yankees locker room is that dry spells just happen, and they want us to believe this is just the time for it to have happened for them. That's how they're displaying it to us, the audience. And whether or not you're picking up what they're putting down, that's on you. Hey, you're allowed to believe that, and the Yankees 3 weeks from now can be playing really good baseball, and then you can put this in the back of your mind. You can not care about it. But regardless of what's happening, Jake, 2 months from now, I care about these moments. I want to know why these are happening. Not just, is it random? It's not random. And we've pulled up all types of numbers. Jake, you've pulled up all types of numbers. Our audience have pulled up a ton of numbers that this is a trend, right? You see the what do they call it? The June, what?
The June swoon.
The June swoon.
The Boone swoon.
The Boone swoon. It's not random. I promise you guys. And so when Aaron Boone comes out and says, well, our bats are not the way that they were, tell your players that. Don't tell me. What am I going to do with that information? What am I going to do with that information? And he'll tell us.
They were 52 and 30 last year in the first 82.
I mean, sure. You've got Juan Soto, a player who probably doesn't need your coaching quite as much. Juan Soto probably doesn't need you to tell him to work counts. He's doing that right now with the Mets. He doesn't need you to tell him to do that. What you need to do, Aaron Boone, is figure out, how do I get more out of less from a couple of guys? How do I do that? How do I watch 27 different players walk up to the mound, walk up to the plate, and start not working counts with the starter? And then I just tell post-game, I tell my audience, the fans, that they're not working counts, but yet somehow we're going to show up tomorrow and you guys aren't going to immediately make an adjustment. How's that possible? Jake, how is that possible? I would love to know.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of answers, Gary. I mean, you know me. I've always been of the belief, like, grown men should be able to hit without their manager being like, hit the ball, But at the same time, it just feels like maybe they don't have the right mindset right now. Like, maybe, I don't know. I'm not saying to fire Boone, but it's getting a little concerning. I mean, it is really concerning. I'll be honest with you. They're only half game up on the Rays?
They're a half game up over Tampa. Tampa's game's
way
not
more
finished.
Talented.
They're
than
technically
Tampa.
a full game up. Of course, they're way more talented. And then when you say those things, those obvious assumptions that the Yankees are more talented, right? Yankees fans who obviously doom and gloom, and mind you, I'm not this overly positive Yankees fan. I'm more of a realist. I look at Tampa's roster and say, this roster's not even close to as good as the Yankees. Not even close. No. And yet, they still deserve credit. You have to show up to beat them 100%.
That's Kevin
and we know
Cash.
what they're doing. Of course, but at the same time, they've probably got more talent. Nobody covers them. They're playing at our field, at George Steinbrenner Field. Why do you think people aren't covering them? They shouldn't be covering them. But having said all of this, their team is not as talented as ours, and yet our floor is just wildly near where they play baseball in Tampa. Somehow, some way, the Yankees find ways to do less with more, and another team just finds a way to do more with less. And then before you know it, you look up at the standings and you're neck and neck. Most people would tell you the Yankees are just a far better team than Tampa. If you went into a postseason series, they'd tell you, I'd much rather run up against Tampa than Max Fried and whoever, Aaron Judge and the Yankees. Much rather. And yet, we're having a hard time outrunning this team. So people can tell me all they can say it's the hitting coach, or we need a new trainer. And we fired all these guys, hitting coaches, trainers. We fired everybody and said, well, he's the common denominator. When we get rid of this guy, you're going to start seeing this guy on the field more. This guy right here, this scout, he's going to find he's the reason why that we're not getting more out of our young players. And then we bring young players here with all those guys gone, and yet we're still, by June, doing the exact same thing. So it is frustrating. We don't have any control over what they do. And I want to get to this super chat about a pinch hit opportunity with Ben Rice with runners on first in the 7th inning.
I agree completely.
Yeah, what do you think is the reason behind it? Because obviously, I think we both agree that would have been a really good spot to use that bat. I think it was a teed up situation, something that Ben Rice obviously does well as a hitter, even at this stage of his career. They chose not to do that. Obviously, Boone knew who was on the bench. Why do you think that Boone decided not to, I guess?
I just think Boone makes mistakes, and whether he agreed with it or not, I disagree with the fact that he agreed with not using Rice. And this isn't the first time. He's done this quite a bit, where you talk about, okay, so the entire point of Ben Rice playing today or not playing today is predicated on if the starter is a right-hander or left-hander. Well, then as soon as the starter's out, why does it matter? Who cares? Right? He does this all the time.
Right.
So that is a frustrating thing. And I would also say, kind of piggyback offing this, I would say Jason Dominguez didn't look as confident and comfortable at the plate as he did the other day. And it kind of goes to your point when you sit guys. And I don't think this, honestly, this isn't just a good problem to have. That's a problem, like Michael K said. This could be the downfall of their season. What we could be looking at is this overloading of this depth, so to speak, could actually kill them. Like, legitimately kill them. At this point, I don't know what I would do as far as roster spots and all of that. But I am telling you, if they continue this, rotation with Grisham and Dominguez, they're both going to be cold when they play. Both of them.
Yeah, so
and that's a concern.
So you're basically saying you've got two players. One player shows up on a Monday night. He plays well. Then on Tuesday, the player who did not get a chance to play Monday is now playing on Tuesday. So he plays. He plays well. You say, okay, great. Now I have two good options. This is awesome. This is a good problem to have. See you guys Wednesday. Who do you see? Well, neither player knows. The player on Monday probably assumes, I didn't play Tuesday. I wasn't good enough to play Tuesday. But I'll probably play Wednesday. And then next thing you know, you show up Wednesday and you go hitless. So as a player, I'm probably not playing Thursday and I'm coming off a hitless Wednesday. So you've gone now 2 days without getting a hit. And then people wonder why you're cold. Why do you think they're cold? So I actually think the Yankees, if we're being realistic, you said it might be the downfall of our season. I think it's the downfall actually of our organization. Our organization's always going to be fine. We spent a lot of money. We're going to win probably anywhere from 88 to 98 games. We're always going to do that, right? There are not very many good teams in the AL, so we're going to beat up on a lot of them. And this is something that Michael K's brought up plenty of times, right? We won 100+ games, and he mentioned there were a lot of teams purposely losing games. Baltimore, for example, we won 16+ games against that team in 1 year, right? So you just have to ask yourself, is it possible to win a World Series with 3 or 4 part-time players around the field? Is it possible that you walk into October and your left fielder plays, say, 110 games a year, and then the backup, right, somehow, some way also found a way to play 105 games because you split time. They're all rotating around the field. I just don't know how many teams in baseball history I've ever watched where position players are just roaming around, where the DH is the DH, and then all of a sudden the next day he's catching, and then the next day he's sitting after having played well, and then he sits again, and then he plays. I don't see it personally. I just watched the Dodgers win the World Series. Their mainstays, their main players, they play every single day. Last year, the first time we made it to a World Series in 15 years. I want to remind you guys, 15 years. Just so happens that we lost a player that year we had who was a mainstay, who was so good, he never came out of the lineup. He was a pencil in. I think the Yankees need to get back to the idea. We need to locate who are our pencil ins. Who are we comfortable with? I'm going to play those guys. If they lose the job because they don't play good enough baseball or they're not mentally ready to play on a day-to-day basis, you take them off the field and you give somebody else a promotion with a potential to take that job. The Yankees don't run their business this way. I've never seen, let alone a baseball team, I've never seen a business do it this way and have it run successfully all the way to the end.
Yeah, this is not a recipe for success. It's just not. Here's the thing, okay? When we're talking, because we look at the, we never look at the inverse of the whole, well, they're in and out of the lineup, they're cold. does this not make like perfect sense? Does this not make like the best argument against Anthony Volpe and even Austin Wells? They're playing every day for the most part. Anthony Volpe is hitting 228 with nobody in the way. He's not coming in and out of the lineup. He has a 310 on base percentage. Yeah, he's been walking more, but that's all he's really contributing. He's not adding anything with the bat. He's not doing anything offensively. Walking isn't even necessarily an offensive thing. You know what I mean? I honestly think it's playing defense at the plate. like, congrats,
yeah, people do.
You know?
People do see it in today's world. They view it as a player can have 100 hits a year, 100 hits, right? An elite hitting season is 200 hits, right? We all understand those things.
Yeah.
But now in today's game, if you have 100 hits and you've drawn 100 walks, they view it as the same. You reach first base, it's all the same. It is not. Yeah, walks are a good thing. It's a symptom for something better to happen later on. You have patience. You'll be able to swing at pitches more in the center of the zone and do more damage. But now walking is like this threat. They're like, oh, he walked 3 times. So that's the same as what's his name who had 2 doubles. No.
Yeah, no, not even a little bit.
No, it isn't. It's not even close.
Because mentally, as a pitcher, if you give up 2 doubles and you give up 2 walks, what is more draining? The walks annoy you. The walks annoy you. The doubles scare you. That's the difference.
Blake Snell, Robbie Ray. These are 2 pitchers who went into free agency. Their main mentality, do you know what it was? I'm going to bend, not break. I'm going to miss bats. I don't care if I walk a guy. If I walk up to a player and I fall behind 2-0, why would I attack him? Because giving up a hit is worse than a walk. That's why. There are a lot of guys now with this mentality. It may frustrate us, but it's real. So, yeah, you mentioned the fact Anthony Volpe is a pencil and he plays every day. He's probably going to play every single day for the next 3 weeks, at least, right? And then if it's so bad that our fans are in an uproar, Boone has to answer questions post-game every single day, eventually he'll bend. And when I say bend, he'll sit him for 1 day, and then he's right back to it. It will be the same thing. So it's interesting the decisions that the Yankees are making. It doesn't seem like it's necessarily pushing this unit towards getting out of this lull that they're in, that these games just don't matter as much. And this Super, by the way, it says that we're on track for a World Series to be played at a Yankees facility, just not Yankee Stadium, George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. So just a bit of information. If Tampa did host a playoff series in the World Series, whatever, really playoffs, it will not be played at George Steinbrenner. So I'm just letting you guys know it is funny. The chat is hilarious.
Yeah,
baseball will not allow that to happen. This is a regular season only thing. They know Tampa's attendance is not going to overfill George Steinbrenner still somehow.
We would play at Yankee Stadium.
Honestly, wouldn't even bother me at this point. You let Tampa do that to you. You let them stay at George Steinbrenner Field. Awesome. Okay, good for you. It's a beautiful park. Well, if you can't beat Tampa in the playoffs and they say, hey, well, you're not using the park, can we use it? I'm not saying you should volunteer it, but if you don't like it, it's kind of like the bat flips. Don't let them do it. Don't let them hit homers. Don't let them be there. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I understand, the frustrations across the team. I do think that there are issues in this lineup that just simply are not going to be solved because they're not being addressed and it's refused to be. You went with Volpe. I went with Austin Wells.
That's right.
They were not good today. Like, I don't care that Volpe walked twice. I do not care. He is I'm Mike Tomlin. I do not care. We do not care. Anthony Volpe is hitting 228 and it's almost July. And he plays every day.
But it's ops, Jake.
Jason Dominguez is hitting 250 and he never knows when he's going to play. He just struck out 3 times and he's still hitting 250. Okay?
And they teed up his start against a left-handed pitcher, which happens to be his weaker side. Yesterday, he didn't play, as you mentioned.
Against his stronger side.
Against his strength. They sit him anyways. What was the logic?
And you know what's funny?
We had to play Trent Grisham. We had to.
By the way,
that's what they told us.
Austin Wells' on-base percentage is the lowest I think I've ever seen a Yankee batter at. Like that starting. 275.
I was going to guess that. Because I know just a couple days ago, like maybe a few weeks ago, you mentioned it was 285 at that point.
Yeah.
So to have a 275 on base percentage, I know earlier we said that walks aren't the most important thing in the world. Well, not ever getting a hit or walking total is just really bad. It is. So,
and look, this morning I get up, I see social media. You know what Yankee fans were complaining about?
What were they talking about?
DJ LeMahieu. Mm-hmm. They're like, he's clogging up second base.
For who?
Mind you, these are the same people that are constantly telling you that FWAR and whatever and bacon and anything that they can say under the sun to understand that, like, yeah, Anthony Volpe is a top 10 shortstop in the league. And I'm like, DJ LeMahieu, I have no issue with him. None. He should play every day. You know who
He's
shouldn't?
like the least of my concerns right now.
Anthony Volpe should not play every day. And then I see a trade idea. I see Suarez. I saw today Spencer Jones for Suarez straight up. I think that would be horrific. Horrific. That would be absolutely terrible, and here's why. Let me explain.
Okay.
Suarez is a horrendous fielder, right?
Sure.
Horrendous. There are people bitching about Jazz Chisholm's defense at third right now, which is not horrendous, and they're overreacting to it. It's not better than second base, but,
it would move him back to second base effectively.
Anyway,
okay.
Here's my issue. He's a bad defender. Now he has to play every day. So your defense gets worse, right? Mm-hmm. But then at some point or another, you're going to need him to not be your defensive. Like, you can't have him play third because it's not going to work in the postseason. Because you can't just say, yeah, bye, Glaber, and then bring in Suarez, right? Here's the deal. Now you just created another problem to have. Think about this. He's really not a third baseman. He can only play third base or DH. I like Suarez as a bat, but I swear to God, if they go out and they get another guy who can only play one position, he can't defend, and is basically a DH, and then they have to just fiddle around. Oh, Stanton's not going to be DH today because Suarez will be DH.
Bringing in Suarez, mind you, Suarez,
negative 20 cents.
I'm going to address exactly what Suarez is. Suarez is a solution offensively. He is.
Yes.
You just let go of a player in Gleyber Torres who was a solution offensively, but he was a bad glove at second base, right? Less demanding position at second base. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is like listening to my friends who tell me that they're going on a diet and they're no longer ordering dessert. And then we'll like go on vacation and we wake up in the morning and they have like 4 pancakes. Pancakes are cake.
Yeah.
It's literally just cake in the morning. So
it's true.
For this Suarez deal, I understand there's going to be some team out there that has a spot for Suarez, right?
Yeah.
Certainly. But that team also didn't just choose to let a player that literally was the exact same build, except probably a better player. Like, I think Gleyber Torres is a better player than Suarez. I do. But I understood why the Yankees chose to go away from Gleyber Torres. I'm not saying that they should have, but I'm just telling you, I got it. You're trying to get better fundamentally. It appeared like you guys couldn't field a ground ball. You couldn't catch a fly ball. You couldn't run the bases. You didn't seem like a high IQ team. So the Yankees sort of looked at Gleyber Torres as this player. Oh, no, he's part of the problem. So we're going to get rid of him. And then we're going to bring in this player at the deadline that doesn't field well. He's not going to run the bases well, but he's going to hit. You're the New York Yankees with essentially unlimited money, and you could have just paid money rather than you're going to let Glaber go and then get rid of assets to bring in a player of the same build with lesser talent. That makes no sense. It doesn't.
You see now.
I don't mind, by the way, trading away Spencer Jones, but when people talk about trading Spencer Jones or trading Jason Dominguez or whoever else you guys want to trade, tell me who's coming through the door, and it needs to be a massive solution.
I agree.
It has to be like, okay, if I'm going to get rid of these players, then that player needs to be a seamless fit into what we're doing, into what we're trying to get better at. Because Suarez doesn't really make us that much better at what we're trying to get better at. So that's really my thing. It is frustrating. I did want to get to this. God, I absolutely hate that I'm looking at handles right now. So now I have to read.
I know it's Ronnie, but see, all right, can I just make this announcement?
Didn't even recognize Ronnie the same way because of it.
Yeah, I want people to understand. We will kind of know your name, but we really knew everyone's names when they weren't handles.
Wait, what's Cheeks' handle?
Hopefully it's at Cheeks or we're screwed. Oh no, we'll know his. Taken. We'll know his Avi.
We'll know his Avi. So Cheeks, if you're here, stand up, please. But the Ronnie says you wanted to bring this up. He says, "Thank you, Ronnie, by the way, for the 5. We really appreciate you supporting the channel. Thank you." Says 3 defenders watching that pop-up bunt hit the ground was a picture-perfect image of Aaron Boone's tenure. Now, mind you, I'm going to read the whole thing. By the way, have you guys seen the July schedule? Yikes. Yes, we've seen the schedule, but I want to go backwards here. So it's funny. It was like watching a player try to think, but couldn't come up with the correct calculation. The ball was in the air. Austin Wells was trying to make the decision. The ball's in the air. The runners probably are going to freeze. I'm going to let the ball land and throw the ball to third base and get the lead out. That's what his mentality, that's what hit his brain. But then all of a sudden, the ball starts bouncing towards him after letting the ball land. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to throw the ball to third base. So instead of letting the ball bounce now foul after making the mistake, you pick up the baseball after waiting all that time on a pop-up in the infield. And the guy is now safe at first base. Well done.
That was something when I was learning how to play catcher, and obviously I didn't play catcher really, but when I was learning how to play, that's like one of the first things they teach you. If you have a pop-up and you see the backspin on the ball and it's clearly going to go backwards, get away from it. Especially if there are runners on base. You should never be trying to make a play at first because that angle, it's way too hard to throw over to first on that.
It was a proactive decision. The broadcast tried to make it seem
awful.
like, oh, he didn't see it. No, he saw it.
No, he panicked, and I don't understand why he panicked because this is a professional fielder. I don't know. That really infuriated me, but not as much as Ian Hamilton's stare down, to be fair. And I saw you bring that up on Twitter.
Oh, you talking about the Ian Hamilton stare down with Wilson?
What I don't like about it is it'd be different if like Ian, say Jacob Wilson just hit a home run and just pimped the hell out of it, right?
Yes.
Like just like was pointing, was like flipping him off, whatever. He doesn't even know what he did. Judge is coming over from the outfield after that and is like, what's going on? And the first base coach is like laughing. Like he doesn't even understand what is happening. What I don't like about this, because I've been a fan of Ian Hamilton. I think he's kind of worn out his welcome at this point. Will probably be replaced at the deadline. That really was disappointing because you're down 4-0 at that point, right? You got out of whatever you got out of. It wasn't anything like, it's not like you just got out of a bases loaded jam. I don't know why he did that, but the stare down to me, I've never liked the stare down. I don't care about the competitive nature, all that. I don't like it in basketball. I don't like it. I don't like showing up a player. I think there's a level of respect that should be shown. And it's partially why, with the whole, like, I've told you this before, my thoughts on diss tracks. I don't like the idea of disrespecting your peers. I feel like that I just never liked that. So the whole idea you're going to go up and you're going to just stare down the guy. And I just think it's incredibly disrespectful. And Gary, if Judge does that, it holds a little bit more weight, right? Ian Hamilton does that. Jacob Wilson's like, I'm batting like 350. I'm going to win Rookie of the Year. Who the hell are you?
Have we ever had a conversation that Ian Hamilton should really man the 7th inning?
No, we haven't had a conversation positive about Ian Hamilton this year.
We haven't. There's never been anyone. And I saw a couple jabronis on X. They're like, Ian Hamilton should close. I was like, you should delete your account. But anyhow, I watch that stuff and I think to myself, okay, Ian Hamilton at best. Let's just talk about what best case scenario is for this player. He's a guy who's going to go sinker, sweeper, maybe mix in a changeup, right? And throw a couple cutters. Just keep guys on their toes. But he's some high velocity every now and again. You saw him up to 98 maybe a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
He's never going to be a high leverage guy. Never. But he's going to be high velocity. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks, he'll have a hot 2 or 3 weeks, and you can throw him out there. He's a little bit of a Band-Aid. You lose Johnny Lowe for a little bit. Maybe Weaver's down for a little bit. You can throw him in the 6th or 7th inning, and then that'll be it. Jacob Wilson, the player that he's staring down, is probably going to win American League Rookie of the Year. Why are you staring down a player that's not even close to your level? You're not at the only player that would ever be on Hamilton's level would be if he was pitching to like maybe the 8-hitter for Cincinnati, and for some reason the 8-hitter pimped a bomb, and now you're in your feelings. And I at least understand, like the knucklehead at the nightclub who gets bumped and he spills a little bit of his drink, and now he's a child and now wants to start a fight. At least I understand, even though I don't agree with it, why you're doing what you're doing, why you're making this childish choice. Nothing even happened on the play. There was a ground ball, and this player is really actually giving himself up down the first base line. It's not like he was busting it and making Ian Hamilton now sprint over to first and do something he didn't want to do. He was moving to first base, not talking to him. He wasn't
most normal play ever. Like there was
nothing even occurred. It didn't even make sense. So it was frustrating to me, and I will tell you, when you're the type of player that's not great at what you do, and then you also are causing where we have to talk about you, you're now a distraction. Like this is the same thing we've talked about with players like Marcus Stroman, right? There are plenty of other players in other sports where you're like, that guy talks a lot of trash, and we always have to talk about him in a bad way, but man, he can ball. You let it go. But when you're Ian Hamilton and you have an ERA hovering around 4, right? You have weeks where you just get blown up every other week, it feels like. You don't have the leash to be a distraction. I promise you. You just don't. So whether he's listening to this, whether his teammates or our managers listening to this, our staff, what could you possibly say to disagree with the fact that if a player isn't a great player, they should really never be causing a stir unless that's their role on the team? And I promise you, Ian Hamilton doesn't have any other role other than mop-up duty off the mound.
What's funny to me is that this kind of reminded me, and obviously I'm not trying to say Jacob Wilson's Kevin Durant. Do you remember when Kevin Durant, what's his face? Dylan Brooks went up to him and like started like showing him up and
at least Dylan Brooks' job in the NBA is to just be a knucklehead bozo. Everyone knows this. Like that's part of his job is to fire up the other team's best player, get him out of their game. That's literally part of the reason why he has the contract that he has.
He's the enforcer in hockey, if you will.
When did Ian Hamilton become our enforcer on plays that there wasn't a collision, there wasn't a late slide, there wasn't a pimped home run? When did Ian Hamilton, when did we task him with that?
I have no idea, but we've been talking about Ian Hamilton a little bit too long. I think we gave him enough. we gave him enough.
We can get to our super again. So DG 4935. I hate that they made us do these handles, but thank you for the 2. It says Boone is like Tanya Harding, actively sabotaging. So obviously not a huge fan of Boone there. Can't blame him. And Ninja Hot Dog.
Love the dog.
I do know who this is. 9036 with the 10. Thank you for that. Says this game shows just how motivated this team can be. They were, I feel like I'm reading in front of the class right now. They were barely trying at the plate. I'll disagree. I don't think they were barely trying. I just think they're not prepared.
I actually
weren't
liked
ready to play.
A lot of at bats that I saw today. It just didn't go down. And then, I don't know.
Yeah, we had another error. Boone and the organization are pathetic. Every game matters, and they just don't get that. So I guess, do you agree that every game matters? Because, I mean, I think all of us would say that, but the organization isn't really practicing that.
I don't agree at all. I think every game matters for sure, but I don't believe that the Yankees feel that way at all. I think, I've told you how I think. I think they look at them as series, and tomorrow's a rubber match for them, which I think they care about. But
we're losing a lot of series, aren't we?
You think the first game against Toronto in a 4-game set, they're going to be like, oh, we got to win this game? No, they're not going to care.
That's sad. Well, if they're looking at it from a series standpoint, they're not doing that well either. So you're showing up tomorrow with Marcus Stroman on the mound. Your offense had 3 hits, and one of them was struck hard. One.
Aside from Baltimore, they haven't won a series since Kansas City.
That was a long time ago. That's before Boston, wasn't it?
Angels, Red Sox, Cincinnati, and the A's, because I don't think they win tomorrow.
Well, you've seen crazier things. Maybe Marcus Stroman pitches 2 innings. This is the way I think the Yankees can win tomorrow. They show up to the yard. Marcus Stroman throws 3 innings. He gives up 3 runs. The Yankees somehow, some way score in the first or second inning. And it's a 2-2, 3-2 game in the 3rd inning. And we've got to be just winning, but the Yankees decide we're going to pull Marcus Stroman. If Stroman's on the mound for any extended period of time, this could go really bad. And I promise you, especially at Yankee Stadium, the boo birds may be out. Now, people can get upset that people boo. They can hate it. But I would not be surprised if you see a culmination
You'll never catch
of
me
frustration.
booing, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't boo either. I would just not show up.
I just always thought it was just stupid. Boo. Like, I just like, what, you're a ghost? Like, I don't know. I've never understood that. But no, Gary, I will say this. I think I spoke about this off air. I don't know. They're kind of combining at this point. We've already talked about that, but I know I spoke about it off air a little bit. I think the Yankees are in a position where they have to make a move, and not just at the deadline. I think Cam Schlittler should have been called up today. He should have. He absolutely should have. And he should have been pitching tomorrow. And I think that we should monitor Spencer Jones, because if he starts just absolutely raking in AAA, I'd give him a shot. Here's the thing. They need a spark. You go back to 2022, and that team got off to a great start. Remember, they were the team, they'd come back, they'd win every game in extra innings. It felt like everyone was getting a walk-off.
When was that?
2022.
So 3 years ago.
Yep. So, do you remember what happened?
Nope.
They went on, they lost 15 of their last 20, whatever it was. They started falling off a cliff, and then they called up Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza, and they started winning again. And people really, in the clubhouse, they really kind of gravitated towards that. And you saw
think
the
potentially
spark.
A young player being called up is maybe some energy, right? I see what you guys are doing, but I'm going to mix it up.
Because here's my thing. Before people say, well, Jason Dominguez is 22, right? Yeah, I know. But Jason Dominguez is a mainstay in the clubhouse. He's not going anywhere. He already is what they are, right? He's not adding anything new. They've been with him all year. You have to add a new face to the clubhouse. It gives you some energy.
Who was that player, by the way, that you who was the player that you thought potentially in a month? Let's just say he rakes for the next 6 weeks. What was the player that you mentioned?
Spencer Jones.
Spencer Jones. Okay, mind you, our top prospect is Jason Dominguez, right? Mm-hmm. He's an outfielder. Cody Bellinger, an outfielder. Aaron Judge, an outfielder. Trent Grisham, an outfielder. So, having said all of these things, if you bring up a Spencer Jones, you don't call up a player who's raking. He was raking in AA. Mm-hmm. He looked great. He's been making adjustments to his stance, all these things, and it's working out. You called him up sooner than a lot of us predicted for him to get to AAA. That was awesome. It was great. Well, now that he's at AAA, if you call him up to the big leagues, because you tell the big league team, you guys, we love your group, but there's something about you guys that's giving me a bad taste in my mouth. I want this kid over here to give you guys some energy. He's going to pump some energy. So that means, by definition, if he's going to energize this group, he would have to play. And that doesn't mean every day, but it means he's, to some degree, 2 out of 3 days, 2 out of 4, half the time, he would have to play. So what does it mean? What does it look like? It looks like another rotation. It looks like Spencer Jones. It looks like Jason Dominguez. It looks like a bunch of guys who may be playing well, but the team doesn't have it going, and now all of a sudden this other guy's in the picture. That's what's so hard about building these rosters, because when you don't pull the most out of a group, now all of a sudden you need a shot in the arm out of your system. Well, what happens if that shot in the arm positionally is where you're already stacked up? The Yankees are stacked up in the outfield. They've got a bunch of guys who are good, not great, in the outfield, absent of Judge, right? I think Cody Bellinger should be the other guy who plays every single day. But Jason Dominguez hasn't been great. He's been good. He's getting better. And now we need to add some player who may play good baseball that will take Jason Dominguez off the field. So I agree with your assessment that a young player has to come in here, a trade, someone from another organization has to come in here and gives this team some juice. My concern is, do I think Aaron Boone will make sense of who plays and who doesn't when that player gets here? I have a better feeling they would call up Spencer Jones. The next thing I know, I see Spencer Jones once the whole week, and then they send him back.
So here's what I would do. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
If Spencer Jones is raking and the Yankees clearly need something, like it's not going well, I trade Trent Grisham.
That is perfectly valid. That's perfectly valid because you're essentially getting rid somewhat of the surplus. But if you do get rid of Trent Grisham, right, you do that.
Yep.
You're still running the risk of 2 part-time players. Cody Bellinger, Jones, and Dominguez are going to all be splitting time. You're still in that situation. And no one can be thrown to first base because we're still stuck with Goldschmidt and Rice. So we're not in a position to call up an
Goldschmidt's already
outfielder.
my catcher. So I would have already made him my catcher.
You mean Rice? Yes.
Yeah, Rice. My bad.
Yeah, no, I get it. There's a ton of names here.
Yeah.
So Rice is your catcher. That's
if
fine.
he continues to struggle, I'm not playing him. I'm not. I don't care how much I'm paying you. If you, I can't wait. Was it 2 weeks to get a hit? I can't wait that. So what I would do.
To be fair, you did wait 2 weeks because he sat 2 days in a row. It didn't help.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
that's
agree
true.
with you. He was 0 for 20. It was
so if he
5
keeps
days.
that up, I have no choice but to make a move. So what I would do is I would either put Spencer Jones or I would put Cody Bellinger. And I would also talk to Aaron Judge and be like, look, we want you to last a long time. You're playing a great outfield, but we really would prefer you to start learning first base to keep you healthy. He would probably say no.
The Yankees need to come up with some prospects in their system to break into the league on the dirt. It kind of goes to show you how many prospects the Yankees have that are outfielders.
Well, it kind of goes to show you how if Anthony Volpe doesn't end up being something, I mean, they kind of put all their eggs in the proverbial Anthony Volpe basket, and he's the worst hitter in the lineup.
Oh, he's by far the worst.
He's in the lineup every day.
Yeah, he's by far the worst.
And I think that's the thing that's so concerning is that you see more potential out of Jason Dominguez, despite the fact this guy can just play once every 4 games, right? Anthony Volpe is in the lineup every day. We're going on July. Like, he's running out of months to be like, oh, yeah, but he had a nice, stretch. Yeah, the second half, I mean, I get that, but you have half of July, August, and September. That's it. That's your season. And so far,
long,
Anthony Volpe...
It's still right around the corner.
3 games in March, April, May, June.
Yep.
Dude, that's a lot of time. He's played close to 80 games, and he has a .228 batting average. Like, and he doesn't have a great glove this year. So
1,500 career at bats. So he's had plenty of time, but the only reason he's out there is because the Yankees don't have a better option. They have another experiment that they can play. You mentioned Jazz, and people have mentioned, IKF and whoever, right, on the market, trade market, free agents, wherever you would go.
They definitely need IKF. I agree.
Yeah, but you're going to use IKF as a depth piece. He's not a solution where you're like, I'm locking him in at this position. He's just a guy who won't be a problem. But people look at it and say, well, if IKF's my only piece I got at the deadline, that's a failure. I would agree with that. I think that would be a failure. I think the Yankees need a splash. And when people feel like, well, we just made a splash. Well, you just lost that splash. You splashed, and you got Juan Soto, but the splash ended up bouncing over to the Mets. So be real about what happened. The Yankees still need to make another splash. We're splashless. So I want to get to these supers. I don't want to fall too far behind, make you guys wait too long. Relax. 008 with the 2 says team has no identity. I think they do. Their identity is just being cool, calm, and collected. There's just nothing bothers us.
Their identity is that they could pitch. That's the whole thing. I mean, until they bring up Marcus Stroman.
Should we just call us the pitching? Mind you, we are technically, we've scored more runs than anyone in the division, but everyone calls this division really bad. They tell us how bad the division is. And then yet, when we try to bring up a conversation about how the Yankees are playing, they say, but they're leading the division. Like, I thought you just told me they suck. It's like this big circular argument that I feel like I could never win. Ninja Hot Dog with the super with the 5. Thank you for the 5. Really appreciate it. It says, they always think they can turn it around, but then they make the same mistakes in October we did throughout the year. Yeah, again, the Yankees do. I think this, Jake, is actually the overhanging thought, is that the Yankees get off to hot starts. They always do.
Yes.
They get to the middle of the year, they get lackadaisical, they let down. I'll call it a letdown. That's my best way to describe it. Now all of a sudden they say, well, we were great. We know how great we can be. We're currently in this funk. We need to get out of it. The season's so long, eventually they get out of it. And by the end of the season, you say, oh, they're no longer that team in June. So they're ready to play in October. And what happens next? This is the kicker. They show you that team in June, that team with the identity to play that way, with that type of floor, they make those mistakes. They don't hit the way they hit in June. They maybe don't field the way they fielded in June, but they think the way they think. In October, the same way they do in June. They show up and just assume, oh yeah, we're just going to be able to show up and be the better team. You haven't been the better team than the rest of the league in 16 years. Why would you think that? It makes no sense. So this is why these games are important. They're not important because we are probably going to lose the division. No, we're probably going to win the division. We probably will. Why it's important is your identity throughout the year. You eventually, wherever that median is of your identity, of how you play on a day-to-day basis, you're hoping in October that materializes. And the Yankees don't buy into that. They think they can play horrible baseball, turn it back on, flip that switch, and hope that the switch is well-timed. And it is a poor mentality to have in anything, not just sports and baseball.
Isn't it like you ever hear that saying, it's not practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice that makes perfect?
Yes.
You ever hear that?
Yes, I've heard that plenty.
Is that no different? Because think about this. Like if the Dodgers, use them as an example because of the world-class organization right now in baseball. If the Dodgers are stuck late in a game and they're losing, they can just revert back to what they did countless times throughout the season. Like literally, it's as simple as Dave Roberts saying, just do what we did throughout the season. We were in this position before, just do that.
Says it all the time.
Well, the Yankees, how the hell can you do that when they're always in different positions? Like it's sometimes it feels like they're on a nice run, but other times like this is not a great late game team, and that could really haunt them in October. So
we're asking that to change, right? For no reason. Like nothing has shown that if we get late in a game or if we fall behind. Remember
and the
how we've talked about the
confidence goes out
Ravens?
the window because you can't be like, just do what you guys did. Oh shit, you guys never did that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't.
The Baltimore Ravens, if you look at them in the regular season, they'll win 14 games. But then look at their 3 losses. Who are those 3 losses to? They'll be to the better teams in the league, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then if you look at how the game was played, they were behind at halftime. They were behind in the third or early in the fourth quarter. And all of a sudden, Lamar Jackson is being asked to come back late in the game. He gets close, a no cigar, right? And and they fall. But they say, oh, it's just 1 loss. We lost 3 games, no big deal. But then they get to the playoffs, and you learn at some point or another, you're going to have to come from behind. You're going to have to get punched in the mouth and be able to throw another punch back. Do you have a history of being able to throw that punch back? Do you have a history of the game being 2-0 bad guys, and your offense can throw a punch and get back into a game? If you don't in June, who the hell are we to say that it's going to happen in October? We look like fools even telling you that. And the Yankees are currently telling us now that, we don't come back in these games. We don't play well in these type of games, but we think we can do it when it all matters most. Jake, I love that you brought this up. It's something that our team continues to just act like when they say it's a crapshoot, they believe it. Believe them when they say that this is a crapshoot. They don't think their habits matter at all, and that's a shame.
Yeah, and it bleeds into games like this. If you're wondering why they can't beat the A's, I mean, well, there you go. I mean, at some point or another, that's just baseball kind of goes out the window. I don't know. And look, we could come off as we're being overly negative. I think we're definitely in our right minds here, and I think we've made our point. My biggest takeaway is this. I think the Yankees need to do something drastic. And basically, if you don't have a deadline where you're like, you feel really good about it, you feel really good about who's out there, and they're not worth the guys that you want to trade, and you know you're going to have to lose a trade to get a guy that you feel like isn't even an A tier or B tier guy, by all means, find a different way. Don't just be like, sorry guys, there was nothing out there. Like, it is what it is. This is your roster. No. And I understand people kind of laughed at, well, we'll get Luis Heel back. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your farm. Because if you're not going to use your farm, which is a form of currency in the MLB, then you should trade it. But if you're not going to trade it, then you should use it. And I think we learned a valuable lesson, at least I know I did. Alan Winans deserved every shot in the book after the job he did this year in AAA. But we learned Alan Winans doesn't fit 2025 baseball. He does not have a pitch that is going to be overly powerful. And basically all he's hoping for is weak contact. That's all he's hoping. He's not going to miss bats. So he, of course, gave up runs today, was sent down. And then last week he had a perfect game through 4 1/3. They're hitting the ball. They're just not hitting it well. And then all of a sudden they start hitting it. So unfortunately for him, I think he's a really good AAA guy. I don't know if it's going to work out in the major leagues. However, there are other guys in the farm system that are showing you that they have the signs to do this. You have Carlos LaGrange, okay? Probably won't see him this year, probably too early. He's showing you 102. He's showing you good stuff. Then you got Cam Schlittler, who I've mentioned multiple times. He's really the next man up. But
Vinny
then
agrees with you. Vinny with the super with a 5. Thank you for that.
Love that.
He agrees completely.
Vinny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nice to see what a young arm can do. Like Cam, why even pitch Stroman tomorrow? We all know what he is, a lose. That's what I was saying. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm really not. Okay. Marcus Stroman, I'm rooting for him. He's a Yankee. I'm not rooting against the Yankees. I'm not rooting for this guy's downfall.
I'm rooting for Marcus Stroman to get the hell off this roster. I could not care less about being nice or being good. I'm rooting for the Yankees to win, but I want him off the mound. Get off the mound. He's not good.
You want them to win, though.
Yes, but that has nothing to do with Marcus. I want him to literally go out there, give up 4 runs in the first inning. I want the Yankees to score 4 runs in the first inning. And then I want the Yankees to say, okay, this is not going to work. Get off the mound. Cut. Get off this team. It's not like I'm sending him to Guantanamo Bay. He's a multimillionaire former athlete.
I understand.
After this is all said and done. Let's be done with it.
Yeah, I understand your point because you're basically saying it would be fool's gold if Stroman goes out there tomorrow, pitches 7 innings like he did at the beginning of the year last year, doesn't give up a run, gives up 2 hits, and they win. That's probably the worst case scenario because we know he's not that more often than not. And the Yankees are so gullible that they'll continue to trot him out there. And they'll trot him out there over Yarbrough when he comes back. They'll trot him out there over calling up a Cam. They'll trot him out there over Luis Heel, even if he's ready.
They'll prioritize some veteran that they know they're overpaying in the short term instead of trying to give a player who's earning it out of the system. It is a net negative for the Yankees. If Marcus Stroman goes out there, somehow, some way, it's a negative for a team to go out, pitch a player, he pitches well, right? And everyone knows it's fool's gold. Everyone tells me, well, maybe if he pitches well, another team will say, well, we can buy on this player. If you're a buyer on Marcus Stroman, that means the Yankees must have taken probably 12 or 13 million off that contract this year. So you could have done that this offseason if you really were willing to do that. So if the Yankees and Brian Cashman thought you were going to go out and have Marcus Stroman pitch well in the first half of this year and then fool another GM in a trade and have them take all the money, you are mistaken. You are. No. So I want him off this mound. This is not anything personal. I couldn't even say I dislike him. I can't say I like him. I don't care. I don't consider the person. How much do I like their personality? I don't care about that. All I care about is input, output. I pay you this, you need to give us this. And if you stop giving us this over a consistent period of time, I'll start covering that as if it's exactly that as a standalone thing. Last year, just to prove it's not personal, Jake, and we'll move on. Last year, Marcus Stroman was great in the first half. He was. And I told everyone, when he eclipses 130 innings, he's going to fall off a cliff. But I'm happy that he gave us that 130 because there was value to it. Awesome. And everyone said, Gary, are you kidding me? This player sucks. He's not good at all. And I ignored all of it. And yet, here we are after 130 innings. He gets shelled. We watched it live. It was really bad. And then we go into the next year, and I'm watching the same thing, and people want me to root for it. I'm not rooting for him to pitch well because it means in September, where we have to win a game, Marcus Stroman's going to toe the mound, and I'm going to have to root for it again. Do I think that's going to work? No, absolutely not. So I'll root against this. I want the Yankees to win tomorrow, but I don't want him to do well or be the reason we win tomorrow. That would be horrible. It really would be.
I get that. You're playing chess, not checkers. You're looking at it, it's not personal, and it has nothing to do with your thoughts on him. You're just seeing, unfortunately, which we shouldn't even have to worry about, but a professional organization is so gullible that they would absolutely fall into the trap of starting him over and over and over again. So I get that.
There you go. Wonderful. I'm going to throw the super back up there. Thank you. I want Stroman to give up 30 runs and we score 31. Thank you.
I wouldn't mind if he had a nice game and then they trade him the next day, though.
It would be awesome. Again, I'm rooting for this to be a win.
On the podcast.
It would be I'll pop champagne. I don't know if they let us on YouTube. They should.
I drank a beer when the Rams went to the Super Bowl, so like on YouTube, like live, and I didn't get demonetized or anything.
Okay, so we'll consider it. And Brett with the Super, we did already talk about this, but it's the concept of Ben Rice starting at catcher. I think we agree. Austin Wells, I think JC Escar is the only player who's taking at bats at catcher where you're like, he's deserving to play.
Every time, and he'll get in a bat once a week, and he always looks the same.
I don't think JC should start,
like
but no. Ben Rice should start every day at catcher. And if you learn he can't hit a lick while he's catching, because that's another concept here that we have to consider.
Yes.
If he can't hit while he's catching, right? It's just too much physically. Well, then he's not a shoo-in in the lineup. Then you're going to have to play him at first base. You're going to have to start looking at, is Paul Goldschmidt playing good enough baseball? And then including the defense, all the things that come with Goldschmidt, right? The positives, not just the negatives, to possibly have Ben Rice be your full-time first baseman. These are all conversations. So the idea of Ben Rice being your everyday catcher and trading Grisham, Jake, you've mentioned this idea of helping our infield by getting rid of the surplus in the outfield with Trent Grisham. Obviously, moving Grisham would allow Jason Dominguez, the 22-year-old prospect, they still call him a prospect, to play every single day. You'd like to believe that that's what they would do. Do I trust it? Not really, because the Yankees could still call up a Spencer Jones, and now you have the same problem. But I probably accept the problem more if I have two prospects as opposed to a veteran on a contract year and then two prospects I can control for 7 years. So what do you think about this real quick? I know we did talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Brett is saying. I mean, here's the real thing, okay? When it comes to Spencer Jones, I'm seeing all over X. Oh yeah, trade him. He'll never have higher value. We don't know that, right? But why am I not hearing that about Trent Grisham? There's literally never going to be more, like, this is the time to trade Trent Grisham. He's hitting 247 with an 818 OPS. He is a career 217 hitter and a 710 OPS. His on-base percentage is 345. His normal on-base percentage is 317. He's not under contract after this year. You have a 22-year-old who you're not playing because of him. This is a no-brainer, in my opinion. Like,
I would actually probably agree with you. And mind you, earlier this year, I did say Trent Grisham's playing too well to play Jason Dominguez at the time, and I still believe that. But the facts of the matter are, you have to come up with a solution in the infield in some way or fashion. Has to happen. So how do you go about doing that? Do you unload some of the system? I hate when people say send the farm. No one ever unloads their farm unless you're getting a superstar. That does not exist. But do I trade prospects, right? Do I trade a Spencer Jones? Do I trade a Lombard Jr. to solve some of the problems we have at the big league level? Well, You need to make sense of who are we trading, what hole is being left. Do you have the assets at the big league level to fill the holes you're creating? If you trade Grisham, believe it or not, it provides two solutions. Jason Dominguez plays, and you also fill whatever comes back in that trade. I think it is a no-brainer. I agree. Yeah.
You get assets. Think about this. You get assets from a throw-in. This guy was a throw-in in the Juan Soto deal. A throw-in. They didn't want his contract.
Yeah, for Brian Cashman, this would be a win. You sell high on this, and of course the risk. This is the risk. There's always a risk to making a trade.
Yeah.
The risk is Jason Dominguez isn't as good as an everyday player as you hoped he would be. If you end up learning that, yes, it is a loss. But you have to sort of die on the sword. If you're going to make this guy a top prospect, he's got to pan out. And if he doesn't, well, then you're screwed. And you have to solve this in the offseason, probably with a Kyle Tucker or whoever else in the outfield. So I think that's what the Yankees should do. You can't just hang on to a couple good players and you have them both in each other's way. Get off each other's feet. Get one of them out of here and take your pick who that guy's going to be. You've got to trade one. I think Grisham's the guy. So I think we're over the target there. And Adam with the 20 in the super says, Gary, our players are not consistent. And that will be our downfall. Jazz, Jason, Volpe, DJ, and Grisham are all average hitters. I don't see us winning a World Series with this lineup. So first and foremost, I want to thank you, Adam, for the 20,
Appreciate
supporting
it,
this channel. But secondly, I don't want to overdo how good Major League Baseball is. They're not very good. Look around baseball. There are so many flawed teams around. Whoever wins the World Series, it's not going to be the 98 Yankees this year. It won't. It's not going to look like, and Jake, you can attest for the fact, I brought up before you clicked the live button, what was I talking about right before we went live? I said, could you imagine if this year's team had to play some of those teams in 2017, those Dodgers, those Astros, those teams, they wouldn't stand a chance.
It's like what I was saying last year.
Right.
I just didn't think that was a great team.
They weren't a great team. Cleveland wasn't a great team. Kansas City wasn't a great team.
I don't think the Dodgers were a great team. I don't.
Who's to say we're going to run into a great team in the division series? Who's to say we're probably, let's be real here. We're most likely, if you believe in the Detroit and what they're building and what they're doing, and I have no problem with people who believe in that Detroit team. They're a very good ball club. Very good. If we run into Detroit in the postseason, which we are likely to do so, if things bounce the correct way, that's probably going to be the one major test the Yankees have in the American League. That's it. So is it easy to beat Detroit? No, it's not going to be. They could easily beat us as well. But having said that, back in 2017, there were multiple teams we had to go through. It was tough to get through the American League. So almost calling it, I don't see a World Series with this lineup. We're probably just going to be way down the line in the dance because of how bad the league is. And it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what we're doing. But I would agree with Adam here. When he says a World Series, that also comes with the caveat that you were able to best the team that comes out of the NL. And there are quite a few teams that are playing very good baseball out of the National League. And so that's what worries me. And you mentioned the consistency between Jazz. I think Jazz has actually shown quite a bit here. I don't like to tie him in to some of the offensive performance.
He should never be in the same as Volpe.
To be fair, Anthony Volpe
is
average. Just a 220 hitter. Career, he's a 220 hitter. Jazz Chisholm was hitting about 200, right? He was horrible. And we covered it as horrible on this show, but we mentioned what he could do as a ceiling. But you know what he's done since then? He's been a 300 hitter since that point. They all count.
325 since he got back.
A 325
955
hitter since
OPS.
he came back. So all those numbers are great. Anthony Volpe hasn't had a 2 to 3 week stretch where he's been an elite player at any point. His baseline is he's just whoop, whoop, whoop. He looks like an EKG. It's not
I
like.
knew you were going to say that. That's so funny.
Jason Dominguez, yes.
That is ridiculous.
Inconsistent, but inconsistent playing time. Look at those other players.
250,
Jazz is actually playing well.
Still hitting 250.
If Jason, you cannot possibly put Jason Dominguez as an inconsistent baseball player when he does not play consistently. You can't say that about a player. Imagine if JC Escara played for 3 weeks and didn't have a hit for 3 weeks and you had the audacity to call him inconsistent. He'd be like, I play once a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to let a guy play. And then if he doesn't play well, Adam, I'll be right there with you. This player is inconsistent. But They got to let him play first.
So I disagree just because Jazz shouldn't be in that conversation. Jason, to your point, shouldn't be in the conversation. Volpe's not even average. He's a below average player right now.
Yep.
DJ is essentially he's putting the production out that people talk about Volpe being so great when he does it. Hitting 240 something, and then Grisham. I mean, Grisham's above average right now if you look at OPS. I mean, I don't love him leading off, but I still think he's a good player. I still stand by they should trade Trent Grisham. They could do it immediately because it doesn't have to be predicated on Spencer Jones. They do it, and it opens up the everyday playing time for Jason Dominguez. And what it does is you shed salary. So you can go and you can get somebody. It shouldn't matter. There's no salary cap, but it does for the Yankees. So I'm just playing within the confines that they give us. So it sheds salary, frees up a spot immediately for Dominguez. You're trading him in a market that is so weak. I mean, you still have Luis Robert, who's going to end up he's going to be one of the biggest names traded. Do you know what he's doing right now?
He's probably hitting what? Is he hitting 210?
He's hitting 185. He's got a 584 OPS. But do you know what they're going to sell it as? It's us. It's not him. He goes to your team. He's going to be great. And so a team is going to fall for it. They're going to give up prospects for him. He's got a 0 WAR, Gary. 0. There's no wins above. He doesn't help.
He is the replacement.
He is. So Trent Grisham right now would be one of the best players on the market. You can't tell me if Suarez, who's 33, who plays no good defense whatsoever, has a -3, on Savant for defense. And
this is true. Yeah, I actually like this because Trent Grisham on this with the current market the way it is, right? Yep. We saw Ken Rosenthal. Ken Rosenthal came out on his podcast and said, the market is thin. He mentioned a couple of teams that all of us thought were going to be sellers. The D-backs, right? A couple other teams, and you're like, oh, wow, they're not selling. So what does that tell you? Technically speaking, if all that's true, and I would assume it is, you'd say, okay, less people are out on the market. That means Trent Grisham is not walking into a market of surplus. He's walking into a market of scarcity, technically.
Yeah.
So I look at that the same way I look at the housing market today. You'll walk in and see a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with an AC unit needs to be replaced, the roof's collapsing, and they'll be like, I want $600K for it. And what? What are you talking about? This is Trent Grisham on this market.
This is telling me it's probably going to be, he's probably going to end up as a 240 hitter and probably have close to an 800 OPS to end the season. I'm not saying he's going to regress back to his 217 career average. And I'm not saying that the Yankees have to get out of this before it becomes an avalanche, right? That's not what I'm saying. Understand that. You are getting rid of good value in Trent Grisham, but you are solving an issue that I believe is plaguing your offense right now. It is killing your offense, and it's hurting Trent Grisham. This guy has above average fielding, and we know that in 2025, teams will actually look at analytics and they will care about the fielding. He's got fielding. He doesn't chase. He walks. His on-base percentage is very high. This is a player that the Yankees probably would have gone after in years past. Like, at what he's at right now, he would have been somebody that people were clamoring for to get at the deadline.
I feel like this is what Aaron Hicks was supposed to be. Was actually just a player who just slugs. He's never in his life going to get close to hitting 300. He'll draw a walk, play above average defense, have an above average arm, and you literally see right there from Trent Grisham, above average arm. All the reads are going to be what they need to be. So there's going to be a team out there who says, I think I can use Trent Grisham. Because I remember earlier in the year, what I was worried about was that Trent Grisham's performance, and you saw it 2 weeks ago, he was falling off a cliff, but he's starting to get a little bit more of that direction again, where it's potentially sustainable through the break. If that ends up being the case, the Yankees can sell high on this player and then give a runway to Jason Dominguez. By the way, this super is just excellent because, Jake, don't forget, you were texting me all day about this. You were. Maybe yesterday, actually. So, Marcos, thank you for the 5. Says Boone messed this up when he sat Judge and hitting a homer in 3 straight games before that Fenway series, because you were talking about the Yankees haven't won a series since before that Fenway series in Kansas City. Yeah. Well, Aaron Boone decided we want to give him that day off in anticipation of what's to happen at Fenway Park. We want to make sure Aaron Judge is ready, our team is ready. The Yankees end up winning that final game 1-0 in Kansas City. All of us were pretty happy about it. You don't love to score 1 run, but none of us cared because we won the game and we completed a sweep. But then we went into Fenway Park and Aaron Judge wasn't the same player. He did hit a big home run, tied the game late in the game, but he's struggled since then. He's starting to get back on the horse right about now, but it did seem like that was the turning point mentally for this team, that we're in it for the long haul and not necessarily today or this week. What do you think about that? Because I'm not sure if I completely buy into it. I don't feel like one single day of benching for one single player can disrupt an entire unit. I think this is a culmination of a ton of moves.
I mean, I do think if you look right after the Kansas City series, everything went to hell in a handbasket. But my thing is, I don't want to make excuses because they did finally get that day off and they just lost to the A's at home. They didn't just lose, they got trounced. So it's tough for me, Gary. I can understand, in some facet, and I still do believe that, Judge probably was hurt by that day off. We were talking about, why don't you just have him pick up a bat 3 times, 4 times in a game and call that his day off?
Yeah, I think we can agree it probably hurt him to some degree.
Yeah.
And I see it in the chat that his batting average dropped 50 points since that point. I mean, you can't argue against those numbers, but to say it's the common denominator, I won't necessarily pencil it to that. But it did send the message to this team that we're in it for the long haul, 162. It's not about today. So, I just don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. John, thank you for the 2. Jones should play first in AAA, can't hurt. I have mixed feelings about this because I totally get it. You try to fit him in, but right now it's a logjam at first, so you're not really doing any favors there. Bellinger can play a really good first base. He can also play a really good outfield. I'm telling you, this could be Stanton's last year. I'm not saying it will, but it could be. And that DH is going to free up in the next 2 years.
How many years Stan got on his damn contract? I feel like Giancarlo's been on the team 20 years. I'm aging like I couldn't tell you.
You're aging, and he looks exactly the same as when he first came.
Yeah, I feel like
except
he's not 34.
As fast.
Yeah, I feel like he's been a 34-year-old Yankee, and he's been great in October. I can't say enough about what he does when it matters, but oh my God, I feel like Giancarlo has been this exact version of himself for 8 years in a row. I mean, I'm almost in a dream.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess kind of going back to the first base thing is that I just think Spencer Jones has a chance to be a Gold Glove outfielder. His defense has been raved about. I just feel like it would be kind of a waste. And I think if anybody should be learning another position, it's probably Jason Dominguez this offseason. They should probably be teaching him how to play in the infield. But that's kind of where I'm at. I think, I don't mind Spencer Jones playing a little bit here and there at first, but you don't want to take away how important he can be in the outfield, because he's really good in the outfield. He really is.
I mean, I don't really care. I'm glad he's good in defensively in the outfield. That's a good thing. It's great. But is that going to make me say, well, he's got to play outfield? Not really. I just think for me right now, with the way the Yankees do their business, our focus should be on what names do you see starting that day? And if you look up and say, well, where's this guy? Where's that guy? You just know, did it really matter where they were playing? You just didn't like that they weren't hitting. Spencer Jones is a valuable prospect, not because he's a good defender. He's a valuable prospect because he can hit. People mentioned, they said if he's Adam Dunn, is that a good thing or whatever? They were trying to Joey Gallo.
Take Adam Dunn. I wouldn't take Joey Gallo. I'd take Adam Dunn.
But I mean, if he was Joey Gallo for Texas version Joey Gallo, okay, he hits 40 home runs. He's going to hit 220. He's going to strike out 200 times. That's going to frustrate a lot of people. But you know what? Maybe you can make him better where he's striking out less, or you can get something on the market. But I guess my whole point here is I don't really care where he plays. He's just got to be in the lineup if he's performing well. If he doesn't perform well, then there's not really any value there to begin with. But still like the idea. Alex went to the game. I'm really sorry that happened to you, Alex.
Sorry, Alex. That's
sure
brutal.
Hopefully you went with some family, had a good time, got a $40 chicken bucket. But thank you for the 20. Said, went to this game today, looked just as pathetic and listless in person as I imagine it did on TV. Thanks for the game, or thanks for the good work you guys do. Yeah, my mom said earlier, she's like, I'm going to get you phonics games to help me read. I don't know. It's a Saturday.
Get you a leap pad. Remember the leap? What was the leapfrog pad or whatever?
Yeah, I'm going to start pre-reading these so you guys will get off me with the reading. But Alex, in all seriousness, thank you for the 20. Thank you for supporting the show. And by the way, guys, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I know I waited an hour and 20 minutes to tell you and remind you, make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell so YouTube notifies you. And make sure, of course, you like this video. Otherwise, YouTube presumes that you watched an hour and 20-minute podcast and you hated all of it. So that's the way they do it.
YouTube's biggest fans right now. We'll just say
that. So Alex with the 20, he wanted to tell us that that game was just absolutely pathetic and that it was just as bad live, which I imagine it was. Yeah. Was it hot today at the stadium as well?
I actually don't know.
Because I went June and like 3 years ago, and it was the most miserable experience I've ever even been to. I literally stood on the concourse the entire game.
And Gary went, so that means they lost. Because Gary doesn't see the Yankees win.
No, I saw one win one time. I sat in the second deck, which, by the way, I would argue is the best place you could ever sit at Yankee Stadium.
Damn.
Second deck, not the upper
Ben
deck.
Rice is going to hit you a home run.
I'm not going to sit in the outfield. Hell no.
Oh, okay.
The second deck overhang behind home plate.
Got you.
It's not like crazy,
I've been there before. Yeah.
Not crazy expensive seats. Underratedly quality. I don't know if people agree with this. Maybe I'm going off on a limb. I love that spot. And you're in the little overhang, so you have better bathrooms, like less busy. It's nice.
Yeah, no, I would definitely go with that. I went with my brother and my dad. We went to a Subway Series game and we sat there. So that was cool.
Okay.
That was the one. I don't know. It was Judge hit the walk-off home run off of, and then Freddie Peralta got not Freddie Peralta. Wandy Peralta got the save back when he was like the closer for a little bit.
I miss Wandy.
How can you not? He was consistent.
People in the chat they're mentioning the best view from Delta. Okay. Yeah. But Jordan with the 5 says, with De Los Santos and Yarborough hurt, who do we have as innings eaters with Stroh? And if he has a terrible start, I'm assuming Carrasco comes back up for that moment. Well,
you're not getting me excited, Jordan.
They're like De Los Santos, Yarborough, Stroh, and Carrasco. I'm like, yeah.
Oh man,
it's difficult because this is the fat of the roster, right? They're just kind of meant to take the blows, and they're not going to be sexy pickups. They're not going to be sexy starts. It's just not.
The Yankees need a water fast.
Yeah, and it just so happens that Marcus Stroman is paid $18.5 million to be our fill-in. What do you call him? TBD starter. He is.
Yeah, he is a Temu starter.
Yeah, he's our last second. We'll throw him in there.
He's speed dial.
Yeah,
it
is unfortunate, but I guess to answer it, like who's our backup? Who's going to be our fill-in? Genuinely, I'm going with what Jake said earlier. The Yankees have to identify who can we give a genuine shot. And I'm going to bring up a name I saw last year in Cody Poteet. And Cody Poteet was called up to this team. And the Yankees easily could have used him as an opener, right? Didn't have the craziest stuff you've ever seen. But what the Yankees were telling us before his starts, before his tenure with our team, we've built him up as a starter. He's not here to just show up and open a game. Marcus Stroman is not going to be out there in the 6th inning tomorrow. I promise you that. He will not be. The Yankees are going to have to do work to win. They're going to have to bring somebody else in and get creative to get innings. I want them to bring a starter out their system and take a risk of whoever they think is most ready and start that guy, whoever that is. Fill in the blank. So I know it's much easier for me to say because there's a risk to doing that. You can maybe deteriorate somewhat of someone's value, but I don't think it hurts your value that much. I think the Yankees should take a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should call up Cam for sure. Basically what I would do, I'd bench Austin Wells. I'd make Ben Rice the catcher.
Mm-hmm.
First base, I'm keeping Goldie. And when he struggles, that's a different story. But for now, I'm keeping Goldie. Second base, for now, I'm going to keep LeMahieu.
Okay.
Shortstop, I'd move Jazz to short. I'd acquire IKF to play third. Then I would have Dominguez in... I'd actually have Dominguez in center. That's where he played in the minors. And you think
it'll be an easier assignment playing center field as opposed to left?
Yes.
Okay.
Because left at Yankee Stadium is like hell. You explain
it's a lot
this.
of ground. It is a lot. Yeah.
So the guy who struggles the most, who needs the most development, and you're playing him in left field, that doesn't seem very smart. So I'd move Dominguez to center. Bellinger will stay in left. And then Judge will be in right. I trade Trent Grisham, DH Stanton. And now, because I traded Trent Grisham, I can call up Everson Pereira, who is a depth piece to have in the outfield, but I don't have to play every day. I don't.
Yeah, because people, by the way, are going to hear, and I already see it with my mother. She says, Jason Dominguez in center field. I want people to understand this. Center field is not harder to play than left field.
Nope.
Not at Yankee Stadium, it isn't. Look at the dimensions to Yankee Stadium. Look at what the Yankees did last year with Juan Soto. Juan Soto became a Yankee, right? The Yankees made the move that we're going to trade all these players for a rental in hopes to keep him. But what's the one thing he is atrocious at? He's always been atrocious at it. His defense. Not that much of a problem. Juan Soto will be a Hall of Famer for what he does with the bat. But what can the Yankees do to make him better? They can put him in a short right field, right? Have less ground. He likes to play deep in the outfield. He can play everything in front of him, way less ground to cover. And his defense was fine, not bad. And Aaron Judge was forced to move out to center field. Well, it's much easier to play in right field at Yankee Stadium than it is to play center. But it's also much easier to play center field at Yankee Stadium as opposed to left. Look at the dimensions. Left field is a bomb at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
It's a bomb. There's so much ground to cover. And outfielders, especially with the Rockies, they talk about it all day long, how difficult it is to catch fly balls over there at Coors Field. The reason for that, it's not the Colorado air. It's how much grass they've got. Everything is deep behind them. So
I hated playing that.
Is it going to help Jason Dominguez when he's got all that ground behind him, in front of him, to his left and to his right? No, it's not going to help him. So do I think Jason Dominguez would be better in center than left? Yeah, I probably do. Do the Yankees make that decision? I'm not sure, but they did it with Verdugo. Remember last year, they're like, Verdugo's playing left. Why are you doing that? Well, we think he's our strongest outfielder, so we're going to throw him in the most demanding position. And then yet this year, they threw their worst defender in the most demanding position. So interesting that they don't take their own advice.
Yeah. I figured it was time to throw that out there because that always kind of gets left behind because we talk about the bat, we talk about the lack of defense. It's like, well, hold on a sec. I'm not giving up on his defense. He just is playing in the wrong position. If he's been playing center his whole time in the minors, why is he not still playing center? That's dumb.
Relearning it.
I mean, at that point, why wouldn't you just put him at second? He didn't play second in the minors, but, you know, we'll just give it.
Certainly he'll be bad over there as well. And I want to get to this last super from Brett, and then we can get to our picks.
Yeah.
So we can actually enjoy our Saturday. Brett with the 5 in the super says the whole good problem of too many good players is still a problem. Brett, are you sure this isn't Michael K? Yeah. You have to find a way to trade from strength and get an everyday lineup or we're dead. So this is something the Yankees did this offseason. The Yankees traded starting pitchers. They got rid of Nestor Cortez, brought in Devin Williams, and they told us the explanation for that is they really like Devin Williams. It isn't just that, but it's also we perceive that we've got to strengthen our rotation. We just signed Fried. We still have Rodon. They thought they were going to have Heel and Cole. They thought they had 5 names they could easily pencil in. Hell, you can argue they were 6 or 7. So the Yankees got rid of a player, Nestor Cortez. We've got a surplus. See you later. Why can't the Yankees do it again, Brett says. I think it's a great point to bring up. It's what we brought up earlier about Trent Grisham. So I'm assuming, Jake, you agree with this.
No, yeah, of course. I mean, this is kind of what we've been saying the whole episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly kind of feel bad for the pitching because they've been so good this year. And I feel like every single episode, we're just like, yeah, the offense just kind of blows. Like, you know, we'll always have to talk about it because it's always an issue. Despite the fact that they're leading the AL or they're leading the division, at least in runs scored. Brett is also here to say that it's the 6'10 guys. So the 6'10
would have never known that.
Yeah, how would you know? Because they literally took away.
I'm going to assume they will change this back where it gives us the authority to move it back because you just know at some point people are going to complain. And I'm not saying that YouTube necessarily listens to complaints, but I mean,
hopefully they're listening to this video and they're like, oh, wow, yeah, we should probably change it. I mean, you have even the audience is like, yo, why did they change their names?
It doesn't make sense.
Is Willie Downer out there? I haven't seen him in 3 episodes. He's never missed an episode from what I recall.
And then they changed these, and then Willie's gone.
Yeah, they changed the names, and I have no idea, like, who is who. Well, Apex. I mean, I see Apex there. But, yeah, Willie Downer, where are you?
Yeah, Zoch Apple with the super. Thank you for the 2. Says, I'm enjoying being an Astros fan these days. I mean, I never in a million years thought the Astros would fall off. Seattle refuses to take over that division. They refuse to spend. They deserve what comes to them. They do. And obviously what Texas is doing, they're not nothing. Apex with the super says silver lining Stroman bombs again, then DFA. What do you think the odds are, by the way? Last thing we'll say. What do you think the odds are that Marcus Stroman is DFA'd?
They're not DFAing him.
You just think they'll just let it rot until he's done?
They're not paying $18 million for him to get the hell off the roster. This is not the Denver Broncos where they're like, Russell Wilson, we'll give you $89 million. Just please go away. Like this, it's not the same. Like they will not do that. The Yankees don't do that. If they were going to do that, they would have done it with LeMahieu's 15 last year. Because LeMahieu looked shot last year. It looked like it was over. Like he's not coming back. And, I mean, to be fair, he looks average this year, which is good. For LeMahieu right now, like, based on what he's been through, I'll take average LeMahieu. And he hits the ball hard. But
we're no longer the big bad Yankees. We're the he hits the ball hard Yankees. The luck Yankees, right? Will they DFA him or not Yankees? We're so different. Our identity is just not close.
Did you see that comment earlier? Someone was like, who are you trading Trent Grisham for? I was like, it doesn't matter. It was like, well, like it doesn't, because you're opening up the door, right? Mm-hmm. With a roster spot. You're likely going to get good prospects. Think about all the dumb trades. Heimer Candelario, I keep bringing him up. He was DFA'd the other day by the Reds, and Michael Kay couldn't believe it. He kept talking about it like it was Joe Adell. It was the funniest thing. Did you see that?
No.
He was like, the Reds, he was basically calling them cheap. He's like, they never do that. They never DFA players in the middle of their contracts.
Dude. Never. Well, we did technically. We did DH. We did DFA. Aaron Hicks. We DFA'd him. We got rid of him, and we were paying him a lot of money.
That was celebration day.
So, by the way, people in the comments are not happy with the athleticism from DJ LeMahieu. He's hitting the ball hard, but he's not moving really well. He's like Kenny from Backyard Baseball.
I mean, but neither, like, Stanton doesn't move well, and we kind of just let it pass. You just got to let it pass with DJ, because if DJ can still hit. Also, I think DJ is a pretty solid fielder, all things considered, as well. I have no issue with DJ LeMahieu, and this is coming from somebody.
So
yeah, this is somebody, me, that was all up on DJ LeMahieu last year and constantly throwing him under the bus because I just did not enjoy watching him play baseball. This year, it's not to say that. Yeah, it's not to say, Gary, that every time I tune into Yankees baseball, I can't wait to see where DJ LeMahieu's hitting in the lineup, or I can't wait to watch DJ LeMahieu. No, but he's average to even he's good at times, and I feel like right now, I mean, people are just so. Well, I think now Volpe has kind of had not the whole, but a lot of the fan base has turned on him. But I mean, like we've gotten so comfortable with Anthony Volpe being an everyday player. When you lower the bar that low, like DJ LeMahieu for me isn't an issue. And it's exactly what you said. Oh yeah, DJ is not an issue for me right now. That's what you said.
Well, he's just way down the pecking order. If you're going to upgrade, then upgrade. If you're going to bring in a better player than DJ LeMahieu, he's the best option the Yankees have over there. So people can complain all they want. I don't get to make the trades, but make the trade for a better player, someone who can hit and field and be mobile at second base.
If Peraza
you can't have it all unless you go get them. And if you go get them, now I'll say, hey, DJ, step aside. Remember what I was saying. When he plays well, by the time we get to October, he is a utility guy. Utility meaning you're not going to play at all unless someone goes down. You can fill in if someone gets hurt. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do the hardest thing that there is to do in baseball. Right. Mediocrity is rewarded. By the way, yeah, Anthony Volpe has completely lost the fan base. He just has. There's going to be a large portion of Yankees fans that are very nice. They're also happen to be very young. And they're going to say, oh, I'm just rooting for Anthony Volpe. Yeah. And that's going to be it. That's how they go about their business.
Every time
and you know what?
That bat.
When a player plays every single day, there's going to be a 2-week stretch where they play really good ball. And we're going to cover it. We're going to talk about it. We're not going to ignore it. Yeah. And then those people who are just so, I mean, they have just so much empathy for millionaire baseball players. I don't get it. Like they make it seem like they're just down in the dumps. I'm like, they're still playing children's games and recovering. Like this is fun. Like you guys understand that, right? Anthony Volpe is no longer viewed as this top prospect future star. That's dead. Now it's just a matter of, can he recover into being a highly serviceable player consistently for this team? Can that happen? Now, there's a lot of people who think this isn't going to happen. He's had 1,500 at-bats. The glove has regressed. The arm is still bad. He's been thrown out just as much as he's stolen a base safely. There's not enough good about this player that anything great is going to happen in the future. So if you know greatness more than likely is not coming, why wouldn't you be looking to upgrade in the near future? That's my takeaway. And I'm not going to go on about Anthony Volpe. He's not worth talking about for more than about 4 minutes. So I'm done.
I'm not really seeing a lot here.
There's nothing else to add about this player. He is exactly who he is. It'll marginally improve if he plays every single day because every player gets better if they just play 162 at something. But in his case, uniquely, he's at the ripe age of 24 years old, has found a way to get worse defensively. I've never seen anything like it.
What I don't get is that, like, Jazz Chisholm, for instance, doesn't have a great savant page. No one cares when you're hitting. Jazz Chisholm's hitting. He has a 950 plus OPS in the month of June. If you look up it's getting better. Starting to see the red showing up. But I mean, this isn't like drop dead amazing. You see the whiff, you see the strikeouts. You know,
it tells the story. Streaky player. It tells the story. Whiff percentage high, K percentage, right? Like all of those things very high, not where you want them. But you know what? Look at barrel percentage. Anytime he does make contact, it's hard. He's not just hitting lofty fly balls anymore. So it makes sense why you're getting somewhat of results. There's a reason why there's some people who don't like Jazz, but there's a reason you don't see as many as you see with Anthony Volpe is because there's nothing to like. There isn't.
And then that's Ben Rice, who, by the way, not qualified, but his fielding is above average at first. So.
Well, good for him. I hope he puts it together for a full season. And obviously the first step for Ben Rice is going to be playing every day. Players don't, by the way. Players that play bad baseball will never have a Baseball Savant page that looks like this. I'm letting you guys know. Baseball Savant is not where baseball is played. However, all elite baseball players, their Savant pages look like this. The majority. Overwhelming majority. Shohei Ohtani is going to look like that. The same. He's not the same player.
It looks almost identical.
Of course he's not the same player. But you get the point, is that if you look up a Freddie Freeman, you look up any given name, their Savant page will exclusively be red hot. That's what you're looking for. And so when you look at a player over an extended period of time that's just terrible. Oh, there's the base running, which, by the way, we didn't talk about that really. It was Aaron Judge and his base running value. He just thought he was invisible, ran over to third base and gets tagged out to end the game. It was the perfect microcosm of this entire ball game.
Oh, man.
It was perfect because I didn't want to see the game go on. Just get it over with so we can start this podcast.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Where's
Anyways,
Austin
let's
right
pick
now?
tomorrow's game before we go 2 hours. Because I just know I'm going to see a comment going, "Why did you make a podcast 2 hours?" Like, you didn't have to watch it.
Oh,
Just
man.
watch 45 minutes. We talked about the game then.
All right. So we'll wrap it up. Tomorrow, familiar foe, friend, whatever you want to call him, Luis Severino.
Are we underdogs tomorrow? We should be underdogs. I'm being serious.
No, they're like favorited pretty heavily.
They should honestly be underdogs. I mean, am I wrong in feeling like the A's have a better chance to win tomorrow than we do?
Why are you asking the person that literally started off the show saying we're going to lose tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Well, I mean, it was an hour and 45 minutes ago.
Oh,
so,
that's true. Oh,
to be fair, it was a while ago.
Yeah, that certain part of the audience is freaking out right now. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Take whatever this is and just go over.
So we're taking the over.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you, fading the Yankees for sure. I would fade the Yankees personally. If I'm making a pick, by the way, guys, if you sign up with ProfitX, please make sure when you're signed up, at sign up, you use code YANKSU. Does us a ton of good. And thank you for that. James says, best part of the day is this post-game podcast. Greatly appreciated. We'll throw you up on screen. Always nice to hear some positive affirmation, especially on the internet where it just is always so negative. But our audience seems to be pretty positive. Yeah, I personally, if I'm being serious, I probably would fade the Yankees, but we're not going to let you guys do that on this podcast. No way. 86 pitches, inning and 2/3. It's going to be a grind. I'll tell you what.
How the hell do you do that?
Do we know who the home plate umpire is going to be tomorrow? Because we need it to be like Phil Cuzzy. We need it to be somebody. It needs to be someone with a pitcher's zone.
The guy today wasn't
not
very good, but you know.
Well, no, it was the worst zone you've seen. It was so bad.
It's just like, yeah, I don't even know where the strike zone is. I'm just gonna call that. It looked like a strike. Or
that might dictate how Stroman does tomorrow. If the ball 6 inches outside is not a strike, we're in trouble.
Oh, did you see that wacky conspiracy that showed up on X? I was laughing. There was some
conspiracy.
There was some Red Sox account.
Okay.
That was calling out, like, Will Warren has the most called strikes, so they're like, it's a conspiracy to make sure Will Warren is actually good. It's like, what? Who thinks of these things? Like, oh yeah, that's right. Baseball just wants to make sure Will Warren is good this year, but his ERA is still over 4. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of conspiracies that different teams are getting different baseballs. I've heard it all. I'm telling you guys, my DMs are filled with conspiracy. They're like, the Yankees, there's no way that they're conspiring, and I'm telling you, there's so many different conspiracies with this game. The equipment, umpiring,
the spray tar. They're like, oh, some teams are actually using it on the barrel and they're not talking about it. I'm just like,
I'm telling you, I've heard it all.
My algorithm is complete dog water, so there's that. It's just Doomerville. So
mine's just a bunch of Yankees fans like taking selfies, getting likes.
I mean,
so I just scroll right past it.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not just Doomer. I guess you could say in some facet that would be considered doomer.
That's true. So who are we taking, by the way? So we're going to take, so Severino's on the mound. You'd like to believe Ben Rice will play. You'd like to believe that Jason Dominguez is his strength against right-handed pitching. He probably should have sat today, played yesterday, and then played again today with Severino so that you know Dominguez is playing quite a bit. He won't be in the lineup because we're not sure why.
Trent Grisham hits righties well, so...
Yeah, so Trent Grisham, I'm going to go ahead and assume that Ben Rice is going to hit second tomorrow. You're going to see Trent Grisham. Well, then they got to go righty. I don't know.
All right.
Let's just go.
I mean, I feel good about Ben Rice total.
I'm going to say Jazz Chisholm's going to get over 1.5 total bases tomorrow. That's going to be my final pick.
I feel like we only do Jazz Chisholm and Ben Rice, and I don't even care. They're such
he's the only one who can hit the ball.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, it's how we keep winning, although today wasn't very good. But we keep winning most days, despite the fact they're on, like, the Yankees have only won 5 of their last 15 games.
The fact that you guys wasted an hour and 45 minutes of your time podcasting about a team who's won 5 baseball games. Ronnie as our member, and thank you guys all for the memberships as well. Ronnie with the membership comment says Volpe would be perfect for the Anaheim Angels. Yeah, it'd be perfect. You can go see Mickey Mouse and then go watch him play Mickey Mouse baseball.
Can we get
really
Zach
despicable.
Neto in return? That'd be cool.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
Would love it.
Could you imagine? That would be like, yes, we should. That should happen. It's like when the Rams trade Sam Bradford for Nick Foles. Let's make it happen. Because Volpe
we did Jazz. Who did you pick for your total bases? We can't both pick Jazz.
No, I picked Ben Rice.
So you picked Ben Rice. I got Jazz. We're not telling you to take the Yankees tomorrow. You'd be a damn fool.
No, I'm taking the over in the first 5 innings because Marcus Stroman's going to give up 116 runs.
Yeah, it should be bad if all things go normal. But tell you what, well, you know who has good numbers against Severino is Goldschmidt. He had a hit today.
I'm out on Goldschmidt. I'll wait until he hits again and then recommend you take his total bases. I'm out on him until he starts hitting again. And I'm not talking about
how about this?
Going 1 for 4.
Comment section.
Yeah.
If you were to trade Trent Grisham, which I think it's just what we think. You don't have to think that. But if you were to trade Trent Grisham, what would you guys need in return to make this trade? Don't tell us you just give him up for literally nothing. Give us a name that you think the Yankees should get. Do you think they should get an arm? Do you think they should solve third base, move Jazz to second, and get DJ off the field? What do you guys think? I'm curious. We'll throw the best ones up on screen. Of course, we'll be responding to all the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I know anyone who's listened for an hour and 47 should be subscribed. We should probably say this a lot earlier in the show, but... yeah. Subscribe. And I go gray when you click this, by the way. I change colors. I'm telling you. Watch, unclick that. I change colors.
I feel like that's just you. Yeah, that's just you. You look exactly the same.
Okay. Well, that's good. Good to know. But make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell to be notified. And, of course, leave that comment about Grisham and that trade. I don't know if you have anything else, Jake, but like the video.